Please use this video as a guide for successfully making a styrofoam cup sculpture by following these tips and techniques for your success. For success in this project, you are going to need the following supplies. You are going to need your drawn thumbnail sketches along with a pencil or a pen to draw on your styrofoam cups for where you're going to cut into it, whatever works best for you. You'll obviously need some styrofoam cups for this assignment, and then the X-Acto knife that I will supply for you. To begin your construction of your sculpture, you're going to start by cutting apart a cup in whatever fashion you think works the best. Basically, what you want to end up with is some pieces that you will be able to manipulate. Paying careful attention to how I manipulate my X-Acto knife, I want to make sure my finger is not in the line of the blade at all and use safety protocol throughout the entire cutting process. I'm just going to alter the exterior edges of this styrofoam cup. I want it to look different and not look like your typical styrofoam cup, so I'm just going to manipulate the basic shape with my X-Acto knife. So depending on whatever your design is, you are going to use your X-Acto knife however you wish. Let's speed things up. Now that I have my main pieces built, I'm going to discuss the first technique that will help you in making a successful styrofoam sculpture. So we're going to talk about slotted building. The first thing you want to do is clean up your edges and make sure you have pieces that look exactly how you want them to. Once you have your pieces set to work with, the first thing that you're going to want to do is take a scrap piece of your styrofoam to use as a measuring device. It is super important that your slots are only as thick as the styrofoam, otherwise your sculpture will be nice and wobbly. You're going to take a pen and mark how wide your styrofoam is and how big you want your piece to be, so making a small outline. You'll then take your X-Acto knife, be super careful not to cut your fingers and only the styrofoam, and slice out the slot wherever you desire it to be on your styrofoam piece. Once that first piece is cut, you're then going to place it where you want it to go on your sculpture. So it's not going to slot and fit exactly where you want to go because you have to add that second section of the slot, but just getting a general idea of where you want it to sit and what angle and everything. You will then draw with your pencil to create where that slot is going to go. Depending on how long your slots are, that's how deep your section is going to go. Once you have a guiding line to go from, again, be super careful of where your fingers are. These cups are awkward to hold. You are going to want to cut out that second slot. Then you are going to pick up your other slotted piece and they will interlock and be nice and tight. You will then continue adding on to your sculpture and adding other pieces that you need to cut out. Using the same slotted technique, I'm now going to attach the second piece somewhere to my sculpture. It's important to note that whatever angle you want your piece to be at, you need to reflect that angle in the sections that you cut out of your piece. So don't forget about that scrap piece of paper to figure out the thickness. The styrofoam cup is a variety of thicknesses, so depending on where you are trying to cut, you might need to have a couple of different scrap pieces of paper. So like I said before, I'm just trying to have this piece fall at a different angle, so I'm trying to do that as carefully as I can. Watch for those fingers, the angles are all tricky. You might find that as you're building your sculptures, gravity isn't always working on your side. That's okay. This is when being adaptable comes in handy. Your sketch may not be the exact same that your sculpture turns out to be. So what I'm going to do is figure out a way to add some sort of support to my ring because it's just not staying with that little amount of a connection. When I'm trying to add some structure to this piece, what I'm going to do for my second technique is to create some sort of peg or connection that sticks straight through my styrofoam piece so that it's nice and sturdy. So what I'm going to do on my connecting piece is I'm going to carefully make a tiny little offshoot that looks almost like a puzzle piece connection. The next step I'm going to do is figure out exactly where I want that piece to kind of fit into my puzzle piece. It's actually going to intersect with that base of the styrofoam cup. So I'm going to draw an outline for a small rectangle that is basically the size of my small peg that I have at the end of my shape. Once I have the hole completely cut out, I'm going to take my connecting piece that's supposed to fit in that hole and make sure that it does and fit it nice and tight. If it's a close call, you will probably be able to just squish your styrofoam in, but if you didn't cut it big enough, you're going to have to widen that hole. Now I can reassemble my piece and see what's going on, and gravity is still not helping me out. So at this point, what I think is going to help me add some structure is adding another slot into my connecting piece right there that the ring will be able to sit in. One thing to know about the slotting technique is that if it doesn't actually benefit your design to slice into both pieces of your styrofoam and you're just trying to add structure or something like I am, you don't always need to add that second slot for into interlocked. If your styrofoam pieces are cut so that they are the right width and everything seems nice and tight, it's not going to be a problem if you don't have two pieces in there. Now that you've seen the two major types of building that you are going to be able to use, um, I'm just going to continue working on adding details to my sculpture. One thing to know about the use of your X-Acto knife is the angles all matter. So if you're trying to get something to lay flat, you don't want to cut all the way through your piece. Maybe just giving it a little ledge that it can lean on for some support. That's it for what I have for you on how to construct your styrofoam sculpture. Of course, if you think of any other thing that you want to do, you can always level up. One thing I thought would be interesting would be to etch into the surface of your cup to add some unique surface design.